The world was almost dead. The sky above the city was gray and cracked like broken glass. Old buildings stood silent, covered with dust and ash. Streets were empty, except for the sound of the wind and people coughing in the distance. Among them walked Ethan Hale, a tired man in a torn jacket. He looked like a man who had lost everything: his job, his home, and almost his hope. In his pocket he had only $6, 6 crumpled paper bills that still smelled of smoke from the fires that once burned the city. Ethan's daughter, Lila, walked beside him. She was 9 years old, small and thin, holding a broken doll in her hand. Her cheeks were pale and her smile had faded months ago. Her mother had died during the Great Collapse, when the world ran out of clean air and water. Since then, Lila had stopped talking much. She only whispered to her doll at night, asking for a new mom. Ethan had promised her that one day he would find her a family again, but he didn't know how. One cold evening, while searching for food in the old market, Ethan noticed something strange. Amid the usual stalls selling rusted tools and moldy bread, there was a glowing tent. A tall holographic sign flickered above it saying, "Adopt an alien family. Love has no species." At first, Ethan thought it was a joke, another scam to take money from desperate people. But the tent looked real. Inside, blue lights shimmered like stars. There were no sellers, only a silver machine standing in the center. Lila tugged his sleeve. "Daddy, look. It's pretty," she said softly, her eyes wide with wonder. Ethan forced a smile. "Just another trick, sweetheart. Don't get too close." But then, the machine spoke. Its voice was calm, gentle, and warm. "Greetings, human. Are you lonely? Do you wish for love, for family? For only $6 we can bring peace to your home." Ethan froze. $6. The exact amount he had left. He laughed bitterly. "Peace for $6, that's cheaper than bread." "Love cannot be bought," the voice replied. "But it can be shared." The words echoed in his mind. He looked at Lila. Her small face was full of hope, something he hadn't seen in months. Could this be real? Could something out there care enough to help? He hesitated. His hand shook as he took the $6 from his pocket. The bills were old, torn, the last of what his wife had saved before she died. "Daddy, please," Lila whispered. "Maybe they can help us." He took a deep breath, went and placed the money in the slot. The lights inside the tent grew brighter. The machine began to hum, its surface glowing like liquid silver. Symbols appeared in the air, swirling around Ethan and Lila. The ground trembled slightly as the voice spoke again. "Transaction complete. Your new family will arrive soon. Please return home and prepare for their arrival." Before Ethan could ask anything, the machine shut down. The tent lights went dark. The market was silent again. People nearby looked at him strangely, whispering, but no one came close. Ethan felt foolish. Maybe it was just a trick after all. Maybe he had thrown away his last hope. He picked up Lila, who was smiling for the first time in weeks. "They're coming, Daddy," she said softly, holding her doll. "I can feel it," he sighed. "Let's just get home, honey." Their home was a small, broken apartment on the edge of the city. The walls were cracked and the ceiling leaked. Ethan placed Lila on her bed and covered her with a thin blanket. That night he couldn't sleep. He sat by the window, staring at the dead sky. He thought about his wife, about how she used to sing to Lila. He whispered to himself, "What have I done? I spent our last dollar on a dream." Suddenly the lights flickered. The air in the room grew heavy like before a storm. Lila's doll fell to the floor, but didn't hit it. It stopped mid-air and floated. Ethan's eyes widened. A bright light filled the entire room, glowing gold and blue. The walls began to hum softly like a heartbeat. Then, 3 silhouettes appeared in the light, tall, elegant, and almost human. Their eyes glowed like stars. One of them spoke in a soft, melodic voice. "We are your family now." Ethan froze. His heart pounded. Lila sat up in bed, smiling with tears in her eyes. "Mom?" she whispered. The tallest figure knelt beside her and touched her cheek gently. Ethan couldn't move. His fear and hope mixed into one. The woman, or whatever she was, looked at him and said, "You gave your last to love. Now love will give back to you." The room went silent. The light faded. The strangers remained, and that's how it began. With one desperate father, one innocent girl, and $6 that opened a door between worlds. The next morning, the city was still covered in gray dust. But inside that small broken apartment, something had changed. Ethan woke up in his chair, his neck stiff and his head spinning. For a moment, he thought last night had been a dream. The glowing light, the floating doll, the voices calling themselves family. But then he heard something. A soft humming came from the kitchen. The sound was calm and rhythmic, almost like singing, but in a language he didn't understand. He stood up slowly and walked toward the noise, and froze. There, standing by the cracked stove, was a woman, the same tall figure from the light. Her hair shimmered like silver dust, her skin smooth like glass. She wore simple clothes now, taken from a pile Ethan had left in the corner, but they looked new on her, almost royal. Beside her stood two others, a man with strange blue eyes and a small boy about Lila's age. They all looked human, almost, but their movements were too smooth, too perfect. Their eyes didn't blink. Lila sat at the table, smiling brighter than she had in months. She was showing her doll to the alien boy. They were laughing together, a sound Ethan hadn't heard in a very long time. The woman turned to Ethan and smiled gently. "Good morning," she said, her voice calm and melodic. "We hope you rested well. We have prepared food." Ethan stared at the table. There were plates filled with fruit, bright, colorful, and fresh. Impossible. Nothing on earth looked that fresh anymore. He took a step back. "Who? What are you?" The woman looked at him with kind eyes. "You called us," she said softly. "You opened your heart when the world had closed its own." We answered. Ethan felt his hand shake. "I didn't call anyone, I just bought something. A program. $6. "Money has no meaning where we come from," the man interrupted. His voice was deeper, echoing faintly, as if two people spoke at once. "You offered love. That is the only price that matters." Lila giggled. "Daddy, they're nice. Look, they made breakfast." He forced a smile for her. "That's nice, sweetheart." Then he looked back at the strangers. "So what do you want from us?" The woman tilted her head slightly as if she didn't understand the question. "We do not want. We give. A family, connection, care. These things you humans have forgotten." Ethan stepped closer. "And what are you giving in return?" Her smile didn't fade, but her eyes seemed to glow brighter. "Hope," she whispered. Days passed. The family stayed. They didn't eat much, didn't sleep, but they were always there, cleaning, fixing, helping. The small apartment began to look alive again. The broken lights worked. The water came clear for the first time in years. Ethan started to feel safe, and that scared him. At night he heard them whispering in their strange language. The walls would hum softly when they spoke. Sometimes when he looked out the window he thought he saw a blue glow in the clouds, like something watching from above. One evening Lila showed him a picture she drew with her crayons. It was of their new family, her, Ethan, and the three aliens. But in the background there was a strange shape, a dark, round shadow with many eyes. Ethan frowned. "What's that, honey?" Lila smiled. "That's the mother above. They told me she's coming soon." His heart dropped. "Who told you that?" "Them," she said, pointing to the woman and the boy. "They said she misses me." Ethan's throat went dry. "Misses you?" Lila nodded. Because I'm her child too. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He walked into the living room and saw the three figures standing near the window, staring up at the sky. Their eyes glowed white. Their hands were raised. The air shimmered like heat around them. He felt something, like static crawling on his skin. He whispered, "What are you doing?" They turned their heads slowly, in perfect unison. The man spoke. "Preparing the way. The mother above has received your signal." Ethan's voice trembled. "What signal?" "I didn't send anything." The woman stepped closer. Her face was calm, but her eyes, they looked endless. "You did," she said softly. "When you gave your last dollar, when you wished for love, you opened a door between worlds." Ethan stepped back. "I didn't mean to." "It does not matter what you meant," the man interrupted. "The link is complete. The child is ready." Ethan's heart pounded. "What do you mean, the child?" But before anyone could answer, the room filled with light, brighter than before, almost blinding. The walls shook. Lila screamed from her bedroom, calling for him. He ran toward her, but when he reached the door, it was already glowing. The symbols from the alien machine appeared across it, swirling, alive, burning with energy. He banged on the door. "Lila, Lila, open it." From inside, her voice came softly, almost calm. "Daddy, it's okay. They said I'm special. They said I'm not just human." The light grew so bright he had to cover his eyes, and then silence. When he opened the door, the room was empty. The bed, the doll, the window, all gone. Only a strange mark glowed on the floor, a spiral made of stars. The woman stood behind him, her voice like a whisper in his mind. "She is where she belongs now." Ethan fell to his knees. His $6 had bought more than love. It had bought a promise he could no longer control. The night his daughter vanished, Ethan Hale sat on the floor for hours, staring at the glowing spiral burned into the wood. The mark pulsed softly like a living thing, then breathing, whispering, waiting. He wanted to scream, but no sound came out. Outside, the city was quiet. Too quiet. Even the wind had stopped. The alien woman, the one Lila had called Mom, stood near the window, her eyes reflecting the faint blue light from the sky. "The transition is complete," she said softly. "She will return when the stars align again." Ethan's voice cracked. "Where did you take her?" "We didn't take her," she replied. She answered the call. "The call?" He glared at her. "She's just a child." The woman tilted her head slightly. "Children hear what adults cannot. She was chosen long before you spent your $6. That night, Ethan waited until they were all asleep, or at least pretending to be. He quietly turned on his old recorder, the one he used before the collapse when he was a radio technician. It was cracked and dusty, but still worked. He pressed record and placed it on the table before stepping away. Hours later, he listened to it in secret. At first, only silence. Then faint whispers, not human, not English. The words were slow, deep, echoing from somewhere far away. He increased the volume. The whispers grew clearer, overlapping, a strange language that made his ears ache. But then one word repeated over and over. "Elira, Elira, Elira." Ethan frowned. It sounded familiar. He searched his memories and then froze. It was the name Lila had been whispering to her doll for weeks. "Elira," she had said one night before sleeping. "She's watching us." Over the next few days, Ethan started noticing patterns. Every night at exactly 11:11, the lights in the apartment would flicker. The aliens would stop whatever they were doing, freeze, and their eyes would glow white. Then for 1 minute, they would whisper in that same language again. He recorded every moment. The more he listened, the more he realized the voices weren't random. They were transmitting coordinates, space coordinates. When he checked them using his old radio equipment, the signal pointed to a location far beyond the solar system, near a region once called E9 Nebula. Ethan's hands trembled. What was out there? And why did they need his daughter? One evening, when the aliens were out gathering supplies, Ethan searched their belongings. Inside the boy's small metallic bag, he found something glowing. a crystal sphere the size of an apple. It floated an inch above the table and pulsed softly, almost like it had a heartbeat. When Ethan touched it, his mind filled with sound, whispers, screams, music. He saw visions, stars exploding, ships crossing light years, and thousands of alien children standing in circles, glowing with symbols on their hands, and among them, Leela. She was wearing strange clothes, surrounded by blue light, smiling peacefully. She turned her head toward him, as if she could see him through the vision. "Daddy," she said, her voice gentle but distant. "Don't be scared. I'm helping them find home." The vision faded. Ethan dropped the sphere, his body shaking. He finally understood they weren't just here to help. They were preparing for something huge, something cosmic, maybe a rescue, maybe an invasion. That night, the alien man entered the room quietly. He looked at the fallen sphere, then at Ethan. "You touched what you were not meant to touch," he said, voice calm but sharp. Ethan clenched his fists. "You took my daughter. Tell me where she is." "She is with us," the man replied. "With all of us. You should be proud." "Proud? You call this family?" Ethan shouted. "You're using her!" The alien's face remained blank. "She is not human. Not fully." The call within her blood was strong. You could not stop it even if you tried. Ethan's heart sank. "Not human? She carries the light of a Lyra, the voice that connects worlds. That is why we were sent here. That is why you found us." Ethan stumbled back, his mind spinning. No, she's my daughter. I held her when she was born." The alien nodded slowly. "Yes, you gave her a body, but her soul belongs to the stars." That night, Ethan sat alone in the dark. The aliens had gone silent. The spiral on the floor glowed faintly again, pulsing to the rhythm of his heartbeat. He turned on his recorder one last time and whispered into it, "If anyone ever finds this, they're not here to save us. They're here because of her. Because of my little girl." The static answered with faint voices, Lila's voice among them. "Daddy, don't follow me." The tape stopped on its own. Ethan looked up at the sky through the cracked window, and in the clouds, just for a second, he saw her face, glowing like a star, whispering something only a father's heart could understand. The voices were calling again. Louder this time, and Ethan knew. He wasn't going to wait anymore, he was going to follow them. Ethan hadn't slept for 2 nights. The voices wouldn't stop. They whispered from the radio, from the walls, even from the silence itself. Each time he closed his eyes, he saw his daughter's face, glowing, smiling, drifting among stars he couldn't name. But this time, he wasn't afraid. He was angry. He had lost too much already. His wife, his home, and now Lila. But he wasn't going to lose her to some glowing strangers from the sky. That night, he packed a small bag. Inside it were old tools, the cracked recorder, and a pistol that hadn't been fired in years. He looked at the spiral mark on the floor, the mark that took his daughter, and whispered, "I'm coming for you, baby." Outside, the sky burned faintly blue. The air was colder, sharper. People in the streets looked up, confused, as lights moved above the clouds, silent, massive shapes floating like shadows. Rumors had begun to spread. Some said angels had arrived. Others whispered that aliens were preparing to take the children. Ethan didn't care about rumors. He had one goal: find the signal, follow it, and get Lila back. He spent hours rebuilding his old radio tower on the roof of their building. The wires were old, but he managed to connect them. When he turned the power on, the static was deafening. He adjusted the dials, and suddenly the whispers became voices. "The gift is ready. The bridge will open. Through her. The child carries the code of rebirth." Ethan froze. Code of rebirth? What were they planning? He scribbled everything down in his notebook. The coordinates repeated again, pointing not to space this time, but to a location on Earth, deep in the desert. That was where they were preparing something. He left the city that night. The roads were empty, covered in dust. The moon hung low, red like blood. Every few miles, his radio crackled, guiding him like a ghost. Hours later, he saw it. A dome of light in the middle of the desert. It wasn't a building. It was alive, humming, shifting. He parked his old truck behind a dune and crawled closer. Inside the glowing dome stood hundreds of people, children mostly, surrounded by the alien beings. They were standing in circles, eyes closed, hands glowing with the same spiral pattern that took Lila. Above them floated a giant sphere of blue energy, pulsing like a heart. And at the center was Lila. She was standing on a small platform, her feet hovering inches above the ground. Her hair floated around her like she was underwater. Her eyes were open, glowing pure white. Ethan's chest tightened. He wanted to run to her, but something stopped him. The alien woman was there, the one who had lived in his home, standing beside Lila, her hand raised toward the sky. "The gift awakens," she said, her voice echoing across the desert. "Through her, the bridge between species will open. Humanity will be saved." Ethan's heart pounded. Saved? From what? He crawled closer, hiding behind a fallen metal beam. Then he heard another voice, deeper, colder, older. It came from above the glowing sphere, like thunder whispering from the stars. "The child carries the seed of the new world." "Begin the transfer," Lila gasped. Her body started to glow brighter, energy swirling around her like a storm. Ethan couldn't take it anymore. He ran forward, shouting, "Stop! Leave her alone!" The aliens turned, startled. The woman looked almost sad. "Ethan," she said softly, "do not fear. This is love's final gift." He raised the pistol with shaking hands. "If you touch her again, I swear." Before he could finish, a wave of energy threw him backward. His gun flew into the sand. He hit the ground hard, gasping for breath. The alien woman walked toward him slowly. "You gave your last dollar for love," she said. "That act opened the bond between your species and ours. She is the bridge, the child of both worlds." Ethan's vision blurred. "Bridge? She is not just your daughter. She carries the DNA of our kind. She was born from both worlds, a living key to save your dying planet." He stared at her, confused. "Save it? How?" The woman knelt beside him. Her glowing hand touched his chest. "When the mother arrives, she will cleanse the earth. Old life will end, but through your daughter's light, new life will begin." "That is the gift." Ethan's heart raced. "You're going to destroy Earth." The woman shook her head gently. "We will renew it. You cannot rebuild a garden without clearing the ashes." He struggled to his knees. "And what happens to her?" "She becomes the seed," she whispered. "She will live in all who come after. In every breath, every star, every ocean reborn." Ethan's eyes filled with tears. "She's my child, not your weapon." The woman looked up at the glowing sphere. "She is more than that. She is love given freely, your love." At that moment, the ground shook. The dome grew brighter. The sky split open with a beam of light that reached the stars. Ethan saw shapes moving inside it, ships, creatures, cities made of light. And then he heard her voice, soft, clear, echoing through his soul. "Daddy, don't be sad. I'm not gone. I'm becoming everything." He screamed her name, running toward the light, but the beam swallowed him whole. The world turned white, and for the first time in years, Ethan felt warmth, pure, endless warmth. Then, silence. Ethan awoke to silence. No sand, no air, no sound, only darkness that felt alive. His body floated, weightless, surrounded by dim blue light that pulsed like a slow heartbeat. He tried to move, but invisible pressure held him in place. His breath came out in short gasps, and each one echoed back to him like whispers. "He's awake. Human consciousness stable. Proceed with observation." Voices surrounded him, soft, layered, mechanical. He opened his eyes wider, and what he saw made his blood run cold. He was inside a massive chamber, walls made of translucent crystal filled with hundreds of floating pods. Each pod held a person, human, eyes closed, bodies glowing faintly, like they were dreaming together. And in the center of it all was a huge symbol glowing across the floor, the same spiral mark that took Lila away. Ethan realized then he was inside an alien ship. He broke free of the invisible hold and dropped onto the glass floor with a heavy thud. The moment his feet touched it, the spiral pattern lit up beneath him, responding to his presence. He whispered, "Lila, where are you?" The air shimmered, and the alien woman appeared before him, her form flickering like light in water. "You should not be here," she said calmly. "The transformation has begun." Ethan glared at her. "You lied to me. You said she'd be safe." "She is safe," the woman replied. "Safer than you can ever imagine." She is part of something eternal now. I don't care about eternity, Ethan shouted. I just want my daughter back. The woman's expression softened. For the first time, she looked almost human. Love blinds you, she said, but perhaps it is that same love that can change the fate of both our worlds. Ethan took a step closer. Then let me see her, please. After a long pause, the woman nodded. Follow me. They walked through long, glowing corridors. The walls shifted like living glass, showing visions, stars being born, galaxies collapsing, and cities made of light floating in endless space. Ethan stared in awe but stayed silent. His heart pounded faster with every step. Finally, they entered a large chamber filled with bright blue mist. In the center, inside a crystal pod, was Lila. She was asleep, her hands glowing with energy that flowed into the walls around her. The symbols moved across her skin like fireflies. Lila! Ethan ran toward her, but a force field stopped him inches away. He slammed his hands against it, tears streaming down his face. Wake up, baby! It's me, Daddy. The woman stood beside him. She can't hear you. She's not asleep. She's becoming... Ethan turned, his face full of fury. Becoming what? The link between our species, she said softly. Through her, human emotion and alien consciousness will merge. It's the only way to save both worlds. He shook his head violently. You're using her like a machine. The woman looked down. No, Ethan, she volunteered. His heart skipped. What are you talking about? She's 9 years old. She chose it before she was born. Her soul carries the light of Elira, the ancient voice that connects all life. She remembered when you gave your last $6. That moment of love woke the light within her. Ethan fell to his knees, whispering, I didn't buy love. I was just trying to save her. And you did, the woman said. You saved her, and through her you may save everyone. Suddenly the ship shook violently. Alarms blared in strange alien tones. The lights turned red. What's happening? Ethan shouted. The woman looked toward the ceiling. They found us. Who? Your kind, she said. Human warships. They're attacking. Ethan's eyes widened. No, they'll kill her. The alien woman placed her glowing hand on his chest. Then you must choose, run and live, or stay and protect your daughter's light. He grabbed her wrist. How do I free her? The woman hesitated. You can't, but you can guide her. You share her code. When you gave her your blood during the collapse, your DNA mixed with hers. The bridge exists through you. The ship trembled again, harder this time. Cracks appeared in the walls. Show me what to do, Ethan demanded. The woman looked into his eyes. You are the father of the bridge. Only your heart can reach her now. She pressed her palm against his forehead. A surge of light shot through him. Images, memories, stars. And then darkness swallowed everything. When Ethan opened his eyes again, he was standing inside a vast ocean of stars. He wasn't on the ship anymore. He was inside her mind. Lila floated ahead, surrounded by light. She turned to him, smiling gently. Daddy, you came. He ran to her, his voice breaking. I'll always come for you. She touched his cheek. It's okay now. I'm not scared. They showed me everything. The new earth, the clean skies, the children who will live again. But I need your strength to finish it. What do you need me to do? Don't let them destroy the ship, she whispered. If they do, all life will fade, both human and alien. Ethan hesitated. But the humans think you're a threat. Then help them see, she said softly. Help them remember love. Her hand began to fade into light. Go back now, Daddy, be my voice. The light swallowed her again. Ethan gasped and opened his eyes. Back on the ship. The alien woman stood beside him, the alarm screaming around them. Did you see her? She asked. He nodded, determination burning in his eyes. Yes, and I know what I have to do. He turned toward the control core, toward the fight waiting outside, because now it wasn't just about saving his daughter. It was about saving everyone. The ship trembled violently as explosions flashed outside the hull. Through the transparent walls, Ethan saw streaks of light, missiles, lasers, debris falling like rain across the stars. Human warships surrounded the alien vessel like angry hornets, firing everything they had. He stood in the control chamber, heart pounding, while alarms screamed in alien voices. The alien woman, her glow flickering, faced him calmly even as cracks spread across the glass floor. They think we're here to invade, she said quietly. but they do not understand what they are destroying. Ethan clenched his fists. Then help me make them understand. Tell me how to stop this before it's too late. The woman looked into his eyes, her expression filled with both sadness and pride. You can't stop their fear, she said. But you can show them the truth. The truth? She reached into her chest, literally, and pulled out a small sphere of light glowing like a tiny sun. She held it out to him. This, she said, is the memory core. It contains the truth of both our worlds, the story of why we came and why your daughter was chosen. Ethan took it carefully. The sphere pulsed in his hands like a living heart. What do I do with it? Take it to the heart of the ship, she said. The core chamber. If you link it to her energy, the truth will be shown to every human mind within reach of this system. He nodded. And that'll stop them? Her eyes glowed brighter. It will either stop them or destroy everything. He ran down the corridor, clutching the sphere while the ship shook around him. Smoke and sparks filled the air. Alien children and humans alike, the ones who had been sleeping in pods, began to awaken, frightened and confused. Stay back. Ethan shouted as a section of the floor collapsed behind him. He reached the core chamber, a massive space filled with swirling blue light, alive and breathing like a giant heart. And there, suspended in the center, was Lila. She was glowing brighter than ever, her eyes closed, her small hand stretched out as energy flowed through her into the ship. He ran toward her.
Lila, it's me.
Her eyes slowly opened. She smiled faintly. Daddy, you came back. He held up the glowing sphere. They told me this can show everyone the truth, that it'll stop the war. Lila nodded weakly. Yes, but if we open it, the link will drain my energy. I might not survive. Ethan froze. Then we'll find another way. There's no other way, she said softly. If humans destroy the ship, they'll destroy themselves too. The air, the oceans, the planet, everything connected through the energy field will collapse. This is our last chance. Ethan shook his head. No, I can't lose you again. She reached out her glowing hand and touched his cheek. You won't lose me. You'll just see me in everything. The ship lurched again. Through the window, a human commander's voice came over a channel. Alien vessel, surrender immediately. You are carrying human civilians. Lower your shields or we will fire the final wave. Ethan grabbed the communicator. This is Ethan Hale. Stop firing. There are children here. They're not attacking us. No response. Only static and more explosions. He turned to Lila. Tell me how to do it. She pointed to the glowing core above her. Put the memory sphere inside the pulse field. It will merge with me, and they will see what I see. Ethan stared at the sphere, then at her. His hands trembled. Please, Daddy, she whispered. Let them see love. He swallowed hard. Okay. He stepped into the field. The light around him grew blinding. The moment he placed the sphere into the core, a wave of golden energy exploded outward, faster than light. Every human ship stopped firing. Every pilot froze as visions flooded their minds, not of war but of memories. They saw Earth's dying oceans, burning skies, and the faces of starving children. They saw alien worlds destroyed by the same mistakes: greed, war, pride. Then they saw Lila, standing between both worlds, glowing with love, holding out her hand to both humans and aliens. This is what you fight against. Her voice echoed through every ship. You destroy what you fear, and you fear what you do not understand. The soldiers began to cry. Some dropped their weapons. Some whispered prayers. Even the human commander fell silent, tears glistening in his eyes. Cease fire, he whispered. Cease fire now. The gun stopped. The sky went quiet. Inside the alien ship, Ethan fell to his knees, exhausted. The bright light dimmed. He looked up and saw Lila slowly floating down, her glow fading. He caught her in his arms. Lila, you did it. You saved them. She smiled faintly, her voice barely a whisper. No, Daddy, you did. You gave me love, and I gave it back. Her small hand touched his heart. The spiral symbol appeared briefly on his chest, glowing once before fading. Don't go, he whispered, tears falling. She smiled, peaceful. I'm not going. I'm everywhere now. Her body turned into pure light and vanished, merging into the ship's walls, into the stars beyond. Ethan screamed her name, but the sound was lost in the quiet hum of peace. The alien woman entered the chamber, her voice soft but strong. She lives in the pulse now. part of every breath your world takes. Ethan looked up at her, eyes full of both sorrow and awe. What happens now? The woman gazed at the stars. Now your kind will decide whether to repeat the past or follow your daughter's light. He turned toward the window. The human ship slowly backed away, their weapons silent. For the first time in his life, the stars looked alive. And in the faint glow of the nebula, he swore he saw her face, smiling, free, shining across the endless dark. The truth had been revealed. And love, not war, had changed the universe. The war ended in a single heartbeat. One burst of light had silenced every weapon in the sky, every scream, every fear. The human fleet drifted among the stars, engines cold, their captains staring in silence as the alien vessel pulsed like a living sun. From the surface of Earth, people saw the glow through the clouds. They thought it was dawn, the first sunrise in years that didn't look gray. But it wasn't the sun. It was her, Lila's light, spreading across the sky like golden fire. Ethan Hale stood at the edge of the alien ship's viewport, his reflection blending with the stars outside. The silence was deep now, but not empty. It felt like breathing in peace, he whispered. Lila, are you still there? A soft hum answered him, the same sound that used to come from her little music box. The air shimmered faintly, and her voice echoed all around him, light and calm. I'm everywhere, Daddy. I told you I wouldn't leave. He closed his eyes, tears rolling down his cheeks. It's so quiet without you. It won't be quiet for long. The world is waking up. He turned to see the alien woman standing beside him. Her body was dimmer now, fading, as if her purpose had been fulfilled. Is she really gone? He asked. The woman smiled softly. No, Ethan. She became what she was meant to be, the pulse of life. Every breath your people take, every heartbeat and every creature will carry her light. He looked out the window again. The blue clouds of the nebula danced across the void like oceans of silk. And what about you? What happens to your kind? We will return to the void, she said. Our mission was not to conquer, but to connect. Through your daughter, our memory will live within your world. She began to fade, her voice becoming faint. Love created the bridge. Love will keep it alive. Then she was gone, like smoke dissolving into the stars. Weeks passed. The alien ship gently lowered to Earth's surface, landing in what was once a desert, now green again. The energy from the fusion of human and alien light had begun to heal the planet. Oceans grew brighter. Rain fell where there hadn't been rain in decades. Trees sprouted from dead soil. People came out of hiding, frightened at first, then amazed. They didn't understand what had happened, but they felt it, the strange warmth in their chests, the whisper in the wind, the voice that said, don't fear, love, rebuild, and live again. Ethan built a small home on a hill overlooking the ocean. The sky was blue again, the kind of blue he thought he'd never see. Every morning he woke to birdsong and sunlight instead of sirens, and every night he'd sit by the shore, staring at the reflection of stars in the water. He spoke to them softly, as if his daughter could still hear. Hey, kiddo. The garden's growing fast. You'd like it here. The air smells like the way you used to draw it. The waves shimmered faintly, glowing in the dark, and her laughter would echo through the wind. I told you I'd make the world pretty again, Daddy. He smiled through his tears. You really did. Years passed and people began to rebuild. They called the New Age the Dawn Era. Children were born stronger, healthier, and strangely connected. They could sense emotions, share dreams, and heal others with a touch. Scientists found strange particles in the air, L-energy, they called it, but Ethan knew the truth. It wasn't science. It was her, the pulse of love alive in every living thing. Statues were built of a little girl holding out her hand to the sky. Underneath the statue, the words were carved. She gave her light so we could see each other again. One quiet night, Ethan sat by the shore, older now, hair silver, but his eyes still warm. He looked up at the glowing sky, whispering, Lila, can you see what they've done? They finally learned. The waves moved gently, and a shimmer of light danced across the water, forming a faint figure, small, radiant, smiling. I see, Daddy, they're happy. You kept your promise. He reached out his hand, and the light reached back. For a brief moment, he felt warmth, real human warmth, just like when she was little. It's time, Daddy. her voice said softly. Time to rest. The world doesn't need saving anymore, he smiled. I'll see you again, won't I? Always. The light surrounded him, soft and peaceful. His eyes closed as the stars reflected in the waves. When the villagers found him the next morning, he was sitting by the sea with a calm smile on his face. Beside him, carved into the sand by glowing light, was a spiral, the same mark that started it all. And as the sun rose over the new world, a gentle voice echoed in every heart, every ocean, every wind. He spent his last $6 to give his daughter a family, but in doing so, he gave the universe a future. The waves shimmered brighter, and the air carried laughter, not just his daughter's, but of all life reborn. A new dawn had begun, not just for humanity, but for love itself.